Okay, finding the product. Okay. Do me a favor on this real quick. We're going to do this side. Go to this back part. We already did this another day. Okay, cross that out. Okay. That was in the other packet. This will be your assignment, 7 through 12, and then go to the back side and cross out this. You've already done this, okay? So this will be my examples on the front, and this 7 through 12 will be your assignment, okay? Now, these are different products. They all pretty much work the same way, okay? So, now you got polynomials. This has two terms. And now we don't have a plus or a minus. Well, that then implies that it's multiplication. And then this has two terms. When you're doing this polynomial stuff, you need to look at the sign between the polynomials. If it's times, okay, you need to put how many terms you have. I have a question. What's 2 times 2? It's 4. So now there are 4 products you need to find, okay? I'm going to write them right here, okay? And I will put the answer down here because I didn't do a good job creating workspace. This is how you multiply this. Circle your 3x. Don't worry about the plus 1. Just pretend that that plus 1 does not exist. Okay? It will eventually, but not yet. What you do is you distribute your 3x to your 2x. Okay? Then go back to your 3x and take your 3x times negative 5. Now the 3x is done. It's been distributed. Now you repeat the process with your positive 1. So you're going to be taking 1 times 2x. Then you go back to your 1 and take your 1 times negative 5. Okay? Now figure out these products. 3 times 2 is 6, and then x times x, they'd both be a 1, and you have to add them. 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay. By the way, if you just have an x times an x, it's always x to the second. Okay, get used to that. Now 3 times negative 5 is negative 15, and I have just this x here. It doesn't have a power, so you're just going to put x because it'll be to the first power. So that's 6x to the second. Okay, negative 15x. Now you take your 1 times your 2, that's 2, and you just have this x here. It doesn't have a power, so just keep it without a power. Now if it has a power, you put it, but just keep it without. You don't have to add it. 1 times negative 5 is negative 5. So we have a 6x to the second. You can't really see that very well. 6x to the second, okay. Put a 2 on that. Make sure you know that that's a 2 because you went 1 plus 1 on those x's. Now, x to the second is your highest power. Then you got x. Ooh, we got 2 of those x's. So let's go blank x second plus blank x plus blank. So x second, you got it. Now, I didn't do this in the last problem because we didn't have anything that was the same. Now, these two, they get added because they're both x to the first powers. Both of them x's don't have powers, so they're to the first. So x second, you got a 6. Then negative 15 plus 2 is negative 13. And then for constants, you have the negative 5. And that is your product. Okay? Okay, now I did a bad job of showing the work on that one. I'm going to do better on this one. Okay? Now you got multiplication between, if you don't have a sign, it's multiplication. Okay, the first assignment we did this unit had a plus or a minus. So you got 2 terms here, a 2y and a 3. You have 2 terms here, a 1y and a 5, so that's 2 by 2. By the way, 2 by 2 is known as FOIL, okay? That's the name of the problem. It's a name for multiplication. I don't really use it that much, but it's first, outer, inner, last. Okay, the first 2 terms times each other, the outer terms times each other, the inner terms times each other, and the last terms times each other. I think you'll be better off if you just circle the first term and draw rainbows. Okay, so 2y times 1y. So again, that's going to be 4 products we need to find. So 2y to 1y. Then back to the 2y times negative 5. Now we're done with the 2y. Now take your 3 times 1y and take your 3 times negative 5. Now the 3's done, now I'm done. That's why 2 by 2 is always 4 products you need to find. Okay, 2 times 1 is 2. A y times a y is always a y to the second. Okay, if you don't see x, if you have to multiply 2 letters and neither one of them have powers, it always takes the letter to the second. Then 2 times negative 5 is negative 10, and that's the only y I see. If it doesn't have a power, I don't put a power. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. Now, add like terms, okay? So blank y to the second. This is the only y to the second you got, so it's just a 2. Then blank y. Okay, I've got 2 y terms without exponents. We need to plus those together. Negative 10 plus 3 is negative 7. Then constants, you got your negative 15. And that is your product. Okay. Next one, 6a minus 3 times 4a minus 1. Okay, so this is 2 terms, this is 2 terms. We are using the FOIL method. Okay, so 6a, I take 6a times 4a back to the 6a, and it's 6a times negative 1. Don't ever draw a rainbow in the same parentheses. It's always from one parentheses to the other. So I've done this to both of them. That's done. Now I repeat the same process with my negative 3. So negative 3 to 4a, and then negative 3 to negative 1. So 6 times 4 is 24. Now I'm going to repeat this 3 times. A letter times itself, when there's no exponents, takes the letter to the 2 power. Okay? Then 6 times negative 1 is negative 6. You just have the letter here. If it doesn't have a power, don't put a power. Negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. If the only letter you got doesn't have a power, don't put a power. Then negative 3 times negative 1 is positive 3. Now, a to the second is the highest power. So a second has a 24. A, negative 6 plus negative 12 is negative 18. And then you have your constant 3. There's your end product. Okay. Next one, b minus 8. That's a 1b minus 8. That has 2 terms. Times 5b minus 8. That has 2 terms. So you're taking 2 by 2. What 2 by 2 is 4. Okay. So circle your first term. You take your 1b times your 5b. Back to the 1b because we have a negative 2. If it has a minus, you write it down as a negative. Then that's a negative 8. Negative 8 times 5b. Then negative 8 times negative 2. When I'm doing polynomials, you're not going to see me doing the plus negative. It's a minus, you have to use it as a negative. 1 times 5 is 5. Now, b times b is b to the second. Okay? Anytime you just times 2 of the same letter together and there's no powers, it's to the second. 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. Just put that b down. It doesn't have a power, so don't put it. Negative 8 times 5 is negative 40. That doesn't have a power, so it's just b, because then I'll see these two can be added. Negative 8 times negative 2 is 16. So b2 is your highest, that's called the degree, b2. Then blank b plus blank. So b second is 5. B, we have 2 of those, so they need to be combined by adding. A negative 2 plus a negative 40. That's going to be negative 42. You add those. And then your constant 16. Okay, next one. 8m plus 7 times 2m plus 3. Again, 8m7, 2m3, that's 2 by 2. Okay? So you circle your first term and you distribute 8m to 2m, then the 8m to the 3. Don't go 8m to 7, they're in the same parentheses. Then 7 to 2m, and then 7 to 3. You should be getting the hang of it now, okay? 8 times 2 is 16. M times m, that takes our m to the 2 power, because it's a 1 plus a 1, but you need to get in the hang that anytime you see a letter times itself with no powers, the letter goes to the power of 2. Okay, 8 times 3 is 24, and just this m here, it does not have a power, so I just put it without a power. 7 times 2 is 14, doesn't have a power, put it without a power. 7 times 3 is 21. Okay, so M2 is your highest degree. Blank M2 plus blank M plus blank. So M2, you have 16. For M's, you add those two. Okay, you're done multiplying. The multiplication's done. Okay, now it's just adding things that go together. That doesn't go with anything, but these M's go together, so they get added. 24 plus 14 is 38. Then your 21 is your constant. This is known as the FOIL method. A 2 by 2 times problem is known as FOIL, okay? Because the first product is the first terms, the second product is the outside terms, the I is your inner terms, and then L means your last term. It's known as the FOIL, okay? Times here. So that's 2 terms here and 2 terms here. So start with your negative 3d. So negative 3d. You know you have 4 products to find. Negative 3d times 2d. Negative 3d times negative 1. Okay. 10 times 2d. Because that one's done. Then I go to my 10. Then 10 times negative 1. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. Remember, a letter times itself without any powers means the letter will go to the second power. Negative 3 times negative 1 is 3, and you just have d. You don't have anything to times that by, so it just stays d. It doesn't have a power, don't put a power. If it did have a power, I would just put it. Okay. 10 times 2 is 20. This d here, does it have a power? No, so you just put d. 10 times negative 1 is negative 10. Now, add the ones that go together. So d2, blank d to the second, so that's negative 6. Then blank d. Now, some people are going to ask, when I add, I know 3 plus 20 is 23, do I put that as d to the second? No, because I'm not timesing, I'm adding. And when I add, the letters, the exponents on the letters are done changing. They change when you multiply them, but when you add, they don't. Then the constant, and then negative 10. Okay, so there we have it. It's pretty much the same thing throughout the whole process.